Hello everyone, welcome to our third episode of the DevStandup. And as you know that every other week we are gonna have one guest speaker who is gonna talk about his experience in like one of the technologies. And today we have again one of the emerging topics in IT. And our guest speaker is again Atakan Basaran. And guys, just a small note that if you want to be our next guest speaker, please fill in the form under the description below of this video, and our team will contact you, and you can be like our next guest speaker with your own topic. And without wasting any time, I'm gonna give the stage to Atakan, and he's gonna talk about his experience in the topic of MCPs. So Atakan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Atakan Basaran. I'm back again for the third episode of the stand-up. So, on this week, I just wanted to talk about the MCPs. The new hot thing. So, let's start with what the MCPs are. MCP is the Model Context Protocol. It's essentially an open standard that enables the connection between AI models and external data sources. It is an attempt to standardize how applications, the LLM applications, talk with each other, and some people even describe it as the USB-C port of the applications. And it wants to enable the seamless integration between AI systems and real-world tools. So you can bring your own model to real-life things such as the devices, APIs, and everything, and you can choose the model that you wanted to use. So if you just look at it, the architecture is essentially it's a client-server architecture with the language model and model selection, tool selection, and everything happening on the client side, and the servers are essentially transforming having the protocol, making the APIs or data sources talk over the protocol, which I will come to later, and over the transport layers. Right now, I think there are 3 transport layers as of today. Which one is the SSE, server-side events. One is web streams, and there is also STDIO, which initially how this MCP started, where you just run a local process. So yeah, and generally the main idea is, as you see, you have your main client. It can be your cloud, or it can be ChatGPT, it can be your VS Code, which, spoilers ahead, today this is what I'm going to show about. And you will have connecting to other servers which talk with the converted data sources to this MCP format, like with individual servers, such as you have in this example, you have MCP server A and B running on your machine. MCP server A talks over the local source. MCP server B talks over the API, but it proxies through the remote service. And you also have the ability to now talk through the remote service directly, which hosts the MCP server. So in the future, what is planning this, you can plug, let's say, the Google Drive to your ChatGPT or vice versa and other things. So the main concepts of the MCP protocol, MCP, is you have the tools, which are essentially tools, the APIs that you invoke. You have the prompts. Prompts are just used as you can have the templated prompts that user can just pull the appropriate ones from the server. And you have the resources where individual things get accessed by. So without further ado, let's first dive into the protocol itself. So right now this is a fairly changing protocol. It's hosted at GitHub on Model Context Protocol, and for today's episode I want to use the TypeScript SDK. You can find the npm package repository in here, and essentially they have, on today's example, I would like to use the servers. I would like to use the HTTP stream over the Express. So for starters, they already have a boilerplate in here, which I already prepared. And we will be using this for today's example. But how the tools are registered is you have the ability to set the tool name, the title and description that will be consumed by the client, and the input schema that will be validated on the server and also consumed by the client's AI model. and you essentially have a controller here where you can invoke, where you can run and return the response or return the error and everything. And the resources are essentially, the format is like URIs, like let's say you have the file / the file system, and you have a file system MCP. So you can have like more information about them. You can return the full text of them. That's what the resources are. And there is also the prompts, which I will quickly just show it in here. Prompts are essentially templates where you can have the templates defined to be consumed by the client, and the user can invoke this with /review code, and the client will ask like just enter the code or enter the thing, and just execute this prompt on the AI model that the client is connected to with this templated one. I think this is like more appropriate for context switching, like let's say you can have a prompt that's registered as now you should act like the rules of how let's say the weather forecast should work. So on today's example, I have already copied this express code here. However, I have took out the server initialization in here and put it on a different file, so we can go through the register tool, register prompt, and register resource with a real life example. So the example that I would like to use is the gist.e. So the Tallinn city has a really open real-time, like the format for real-time data of the bus schedules and bus transports, and also the data of all the bus stations, so bus stops. So I would like to combine this with data with the Google Maps server, the Google Maps MCP, which I will be running locally on my machine. And on top of that, we are making this another MCP, and we will be using the VS Code itself as the MCP client, which is just recently added this month. So as you see, how to invoke the MCP for Google Maps is you just run it with the npx and you just connect it to the STDIO. I already have my Google Maps API key set up, and we have the server in here. So how to add this to VS Code is, on VS Code you just need to create a VS Code folder, have a MCP JSON in it, and you can define your servers in here. As you see, I would like to use the STDIO for the Google Maps server, and I would like to use the HTTP for the Tallinn MCP server, which is what we're building right now. So let's go back to the Tallinn MCP server. Now we have the server defined in here, our server instance, and we would like to register our first tool. So before that, I will just like to give you some context. So this API, this web page has its own API. One is the stop information, where we have each of the bus stop in Tallinn defined with their geometry, with the coordinates, and their properties, where they have the name, the stop ID, and also the serial ID, which is an interesting property used by the official API, where you can ask it to get the current bus stop bus schedule in real time of that bus stop. If I give it in here, for instance, I mean, probably already it's a bit late, so maybe there is no bus running for this, but you can see the incoming buses for the bus stop as a CSV format. So I would like to connect these two APIs as an MCP to my client, and I would like to ask it to where a place is, which it should use the Google Maps MCP to get the place information, and then I would like to ask for the nearest bus stops around it, which should use this Tallinn MCP, and I also want to ask it about the schedules. So let's start with the bus stops. As you see, the how you define a tool is you need to first give the tool a name. You need to give the tool a title and its description. These are consumed by the AI models of the client. This is a bit, so you need to be a bit descriptive about it, because this is how it's gonna do your tool selection. You have the input schema. So this library is using Zod, which is a code-defined JSON schema. in here on the input schema, I would like to have the latitude and longitude and with the schema's number. This input schema will be also consumed by the AI model of the client, so it can be used for filling the details while invoking this tool. And in here I have the controller of this let's say per se of this tool, where I will have the input latitude and longitude. I just made a quick example where I just pull the data, I loop through all the bus stops and check their coordinates, and I will try to find the closest ones that are around 1 kilometer square of this given coordinate, and I return them. So this is the format where you return to the on the MCP. So of course you can also define an output schema. However, for the sake of the simplicity of this example, I'm just sending the whole array as a string so the AI model can figure it out. Even though it's not efficient, this is just for the sake of simplicity. And I also want to have a prompt, which is like the nearest stops, and I would like to have the location in here. So the user can just say / near stops, and it will ask for the location, and the model would be hopefully invoked with find where blah 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 is located and look for near bus stops on Talent MCP. So I also want to have access to, since we have all the stops, I also want to register each stop as a resource. I registered this resource called stop with the URI of stop and their Siri ID, which will be used for this real-time information. And I essentially, when it's invoked, I just go and take the real-time information from that API and just springify and return it. However, due to today is like July 14, the VS Code is not able to use the resources. So for just to demonstrate, I also registered this resource as like a tool, in a sense, where you can pass it's called like get stop. You can pass the ID and it returns the same data, as you see. So how we start is we have already the server running in here. When we go to the VS Code, we can start our servers. Let me stop them. So you will have these two tabs here where you can just press to start, and it will, if it's connected, it will connect like this, and you can also start the other services. So before going to the AI side, I would like to show what's happening on the this MCP server itself. So the MCP project comes with an inspector program where you can connect to your own server and invoke commands against it. So let me restart this. Sorry. Let's do this. Yeah, you can invoke it with this npx command, npx model context protocol inspector, and you can connect your server and you can debug it by, for instance, I have these tools defined, right? I can list the tools, I can check their input schemas, their output schemas, I can check the prompts, I can see the prompts, I can see what the prompts is gonna be taking as the input schema. I can enter like I can enter the test string, I can ask for to get the prompt, and as you see, this returned to me that, hey, the client should invoke this on behalf of the user. And as you see, it is already you can like introspect what is returning between the communications, and you can also check the resources and everything. So if you go back to the VS Code and you have your MCP servers running, you should first go to in here you will have the selection of the mode. So make sure that this is on the agent mode and not on the ask mode, because the MCP tools are only executed on the agent mode. And also you can see the tools in this wrench and the screwdriver icon, which will open you a configure tool tab. In here you can see there is also the VS Code itself is connected as MCP, and I have disabled this. And here you can see the commands I have available from the Google Maps MCP and the Talon MCP we have just built with the bus stops tool and the get stops tool. So first, I would like to ask where Taltech is located. So this tool, as you see, this didn't invoke any tools. This is the knowledge coming from the AI model itself that is used by the client. But now when I ask it to, are there any bus stops close to it? Actually, it's transport bus stops close to it. So what happened here is the AI had the knowledge of the address of the Taltech, and since it needs to, and it has, and it planned the tool select, and it did the tool selection and planned the outcome of it needs to execute this Talon MCP tool with the latitude and longitude. But to have the access to that, it's also first going to execute the Google Maps MCP server and get the latitude and longitude from there. So if we allow it to continue, in here we have the break. However, you can always say it's allow and it will automatically execute without asking to you. But for this example, I'm gonna press it by continue by hand. So what it will get here is it's as a return, it will get the latitude and longitude of this address from the Google Maps. And now that it knows the latitude and longitude, and since the latitude and longitude is also defined on the schema of the get bus stops tool of the Talon MCP that we just built, it will execute it with that. And once that runs, as a response, like I said, we will be returning all the bus stops around it. And from this information, the model will return that yes, there are several bus stops around it. The closest one is the Tenikoilikol, which is the correct one. So however, if we ask, what is the schedule of the, if we ask this, since in this information it also had the Siri IDs defined, it will then do the tool selection for the get bus stop tool, and it will execute that with the Siri ID. Normally this was supposed to be the resources, but the VS Code still doesn't have that, so let's go with the tool execution. And from here, it also wants to get the other one, which is the returning one. And as you see, it says the bus 33 to Maniko and 36 to Vera are coming. Since this information also includes the scheduled time in seconds, and if the model that is being used is smart enough or like big enough, it should be also digesting the information. So maybe we can now ask questions about like generated answers, such as when is the so it says bus 33 to Manniku, scheduled to depart in approximately 7 minutes. So if you would like to confirm this, we can go here. We can go to the technical bus stop. And we see that actually, yeah, in 7 minutes, the Manniku bus will be coming there. So we have essentially built a tool that will answer us about the Talon bus transportation. So the general idea of the MCPs is having a common protocol where the clients and AI models can talk, and you can, at the end of the day, you can like connect multiple tools and make them work together to achieve what you want to do. So that was it. I hope that is a pretty straightforward demonstration and explanation for you, for everyone.
Yeah, Atakan, thanks a lot. It was interesting. So basically, simply put, like by configuring MCP, I can basically feed all the data in my website, and then like this AI will know about like what's my website like purpose, and then when the user like tries to interact like with my website function, so AI like can answer all the questions like without just simply navigating them like manually by the user, right?
Yeah, essentially, I mean, in this example, we only used it to retrieve data, but let's say you have a tool called send message, and you have the user ID and the message content defined there. You can ask to your client that, hey, compose an email to, or compose a message to Eleanor and say, hello world. It will digest the schema, and it will execute it based on the schema, and that tool should send you or the person that you want to send message, and your client will send it on behalf of you by the AI model behind it filling the information.
Yeah, that's really great. I think it will be useful, like also like making some this AI chatbots for the users, just to ease the process for the applications.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say, what are the main advantages? For example, if I'm using this MCP servers to connect this AI assistants instead of the traditional APIs.
So for the traditional APIs, the problem was they were local only, and you need to. So there was up until at this point for the last 2 years, you had to define the tools and you had to put the tools inside the context. And it was like your model that you're using needs to know about this execution, like this tool context. For instance, on the ChatGPT, it says like if the user is asking about an image, you just create image tool that is on the system prompt, and based on that it will invoke that, and it's like a inbox with the special tokens and everything. So in the MCP's case, the idea is you're gonna have these tools, but it's gonna be exposed to the server. So right now in our example, we had a web server. So if I expose this tomorrow, you would be able to. You are not stuck to my AI model, which probably it's gonna be the cheapest one to save cost. It's going to be the smallest one. But for instance, you are a big company or someone with a spare money or want to run this on a large scale, and you can just bring your own model and plug this there, which is what's the idea of like the USB Type C of the AI models, where you can just plug the tools together instead of making bespoke ones like the traditional ones.
All right. What about this bidirectional communication in MCP? How it handles this?
So essentially, instant like I don't know if they're using WebSockets yet, but right now available protocols are the SSE server side events and the WebStream. So how it works is the server just opens a one client where they only receive the events through the. So SSE is not bidirectional, it's just directional. They receive the events from the server, and every time the user is going to, or the client is going to issue an action, there is another post request. So it is a constant stream from the server to receive the notifications and everything, but it is just a one way communication for each side. It's not real time, but it is close to real time, but it's not a bidirectional. It's through two separate channels.
All right. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, I mean, recently this I feel like this MCP is a kind of emerging trend like in the AI world right now, and it seems
Yep.
like uh, most of the companies are already trying to like employ in their applications. But yeah, thanks for your great small like project about this. So it was great like to having this MCP like in Tallinn transport system, because we are usually like using this tool, and it's like really easy like to interact with application and knows when the bus is coming and where is it located. So yeah, it's really great, and I think that a lot of applications like can be benefit from this to make the application flows for the users in a simpler way. So guys, thank you so much. I appreciate for your workshop. And guys, as you know, like again, like it was from Atakan, and we're gonna have like our next guest speakers in the next weeks. Probably the person gonna have like gonna be like next person gonna have like different one, and we'll have like different topics. So if anyone wants to also be our guest speaker, please fill in the form in the description below, and our team will contact you. And if you have any questions or feedbacks about this DevStandup format, please don't hesitate to write in the comment section. And apart from that, like thanks guys for watching, and see you all in our next DevStandups. Take care. Bye bye.